my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends. We are some hippies, these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
Welcome back to a new world order, folks.
Welcome back. Well, it's not new yet, is it? We're working on it. It's like my computer. You know,
I feel like I'm in a new world order right now on this thing. I tell you what.
You know what you remind me of? What did I watch the other day? Pulp Fiction. You remind me of like a crossover between like Pulp Fiction and a stand-up comedian.
Yes.
You know? I don't know if that's what you're going for, but
that was the whole, I think that's where Quentin Tarantino was going with that movie the whole time as well. So
hey, you're not
I feel
wrong.
like I'm on the right path.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you're new to our show, we're the Professional Hippies. We like to bridge the gap between professionalism, whatever that means for you, success, and kind of some hippie woo-woo, whatever that means for you. Hopefully nothing bad. Venus is in retrograde, apparently. So today we wanted to dive into a little bit of, a whole lot of something, nothing. You know, your beliefs are projections and illusions of past
Yeah, let's break down all those
illusions.
walls.
Yeah, man. No, so in all sincerity, did you see what Putin said? What was that, today? Yesterday?
I didn't see it at all. I just saw he said maybe something like, we're going to nuke you if you don't agree with us or something.
What is going on over there, man?
I don't know. That's why I'm glad I live over here.
Amen, brother.
Sounds like a lot of problems over there.
When I see that, I'm like, all right, you started this over something that no one really agreed with, and now you're threatening nuclear warfare because of a threat to your motherland because of something you started. That is the definition of a guy getting in a fist fight at a bar, being drunk and starting some shit, and then going to the truck and getting a handgun. It's like, hey,
yeah,
what are we doing here?
I mean, I don't think you really would, though. I think it's just all flub, just to be like, I'm going to do it, and then, you know, because why would he? Because then it ruins his rule.
I think he would.
You think he would? I think it ruins his rule. If he does that, he pulls the trigger, that we're all dead, then no one's happy, you know?
I don't think we're all dead. So that's the thing. It just weirdly enough,
I'm dead. I live in a location where that thing is hitting. I'll tell you that much. So.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but would he strike the U.S.? Do you think if he's like, hey, I'm going to pull this trigger, I'm just going to go ahead and like go mad? Or do you think he does?
If he pulls one nuclear bomb, even if it doesn't come to the U.S., it's an all-out world war for sure. There's so many things out there in the world that like are recognizing that if one nuclear bomb goes up in the air, they're all, like quite a few of them are launching at once just to vaporize.
Here's the deal.
One.
I don't think so. Hear me out. Here's my thought process. I think if he pulled one, it's going to be to what? Demoralize the state of Ukraine, right? It's going to be a strategic strike, probably be Kiev. If he does that, I think all of the other crazy-ass people that are his allies, take China, China's going to be like, yo, I want no fucking part of that. I don't think anybody else pulls a trigger. I think they all go, whoa, man, what are you thinking? And I think the people closest to him on the inside realize everything they have that they're about to lose, all their families, all their friends, everything they know, and they kill him.
I think they might do that before that even happened. Like if he was serious, right? And he's like, oh, no, we're going to do that. I think there would definitely be people that would probably try to assassinate him before that.
Well, so even I think I saw the update today is that, you know, he's declaring a partial mobilization of the reserves. But the ironic part is that there's no real word on what that means, like as far as the declaration of like mobilization for his reservist troops. It actually, the language is so ambiguous that they mean that they can draft anybody they want. So one of the things that they said already is that if you protest this mobilization, if you protest the war, you'll be drafted and sent to Ukraine. That's one of the ways.
But what if they do that then? Then they draft you, and then you can they take you to Ukraine, and then you just run when you get over there. Like, all right, good luck. Because I've heard there's been soldiers over there that aren't fighting at all.
Most
just
of them.
Like, what are we doing here?
What? Yeah, like, so I don't know if you follow any of that stuff, man, but I've been all over it kind of since the beginning. Like, my feeds are full of it, and just seeing the supplies that they're getting. Like, Russia just struck a deal with North Korea to get arms. So, you know, there's counterpoints.
Wait, North Korea's getting arms from Russia, or
Russia is getting arms from North Korea.
Those are going to be shit firearms. Why would they do that? That makes no sense.
Just saw a video today of a team intercepted some supplies from, they didn't intercept, the Russian troops retreated, and they went and got some of their medical supplies. Some of the bandages were from 1973.
Oh, perfect.
So, like, they show, like, the food they're getting, the supplies they're getting, the guns and all that kind of shit, and they're like, dude.
Imagine you've been shot, right? The medic comes up to you, and he pulls out the first aid kit, but instead of it being like that nice white, it's like starting to film yellow.
It's that
You're
beige.
Like, you got that nice beige color that happens in old first aid kits, and you're like, wait a minute. That's all we got, buddy.
Yeah, because, like, what are they fighting for? I mean, I don't know. We don't have to hang out on this topic too long. But, like, speaking of a new world order, I mean, think about being in a world now where we're all realizing, hey, war. India's leader called out Putin on that and was like, hey, we don't live in a world anymore where war is, like, a thing you can really do as a first world power. So,
yeah,
what are you doing? What's the game plan here?
Yeah, well, I mean, he does have, doesn't he have cancer?
That's speculation.
And a lot of people were saying that maybe he's just gotten to the point where he knows he's going to die. So he's like, F it, who cares at this point?
Yeah, but his whole thing from the beginning has been the legacy of reuniting the Soviet Union.
But once he sees it's not going to happen, once he sees it's probably not going to happen anymore, and then he's just like, well, if I can't have what I want, nobody can have what they want.
What's really pissing him off is the amount of shit we're sending over there. They're like, hey, if the U.S. wasn't backing Ukraine, if NATO wasn't backing Ukraine, then we would have had this shit over real fucking quick. But what they can't compete with is just our guns, our missiles. And
well, you're competing with the world, kind of helping, besides China, helping Ukraine and being like, here you go, Ukraine. Keep
when
going.
When it comes to NATO, we are the world.
we're not gonna send you people, but we'll send you some cash. You get
I saw some crazy stat. I want to get an iPad specifically for looking up stats while we're recording. But something about how our GDP and our industry being driven by war, that since America's inception, how many wars we haven't been a part of. Like, there was some, like, weird, I think it was like a 6-year period since America's inception of us not being a part of a war. I mean, it was something absurdly small where it was just an obscure reason, but, like, that's what we do. We supply the world with shit. A lot of that shit being guns and shit.
We're good at it.
We're really good at it.
I look like I look
you
like
do.
I
What's that movie
guns.
where the guys supply all the guns and stuff?
I forgot the movie. Yeah, something War Dogs.
War Dogs, yeah. That's exactly like the Sean guy with, you know.
Need a cigar.
Do you smoke cigars? You like cigars?
Yeah, I like cigars. Should have one right now. Bam.
I've never really gotten into it. Just the synthetic stuff for me.
What is it? Joey, actually, yeah, he works at Honeywell and does the arms. You know, works on some of the stuff that goes at arms and talks about how, you know, U.S. basically keeps the stuff that's perfect, but some of the things that are just off get sold to the other countries. So, you know, I mean, we make a ton of money off of selling weapons to our allies, but they always get the things that are a little off, so they're never perfect. Like,
wait, so back to, I think you've clarified this before, but Honeywell is not just ham?
Honeywell's not just no, they don't even just do your
they
your
do
AC
make ham,
units.
Right?
No, that's honey that's Honey Baked. It's a company called Honey Baked Ham. There's a company called
So
that.
this whole time I've been thinking that dude works for a ham company and he works for the exact opposite, like engineering and.
Well, I mean, he could, you know, works for a company that creates the thermostats to keep the ham cold, you know, that other people provide. But he works in the arm, like he creates the chips that go into.
He doesn't make ham. That's all I was trying to get about too. He doesn't make ham. Okay, cool. We're on the same page now.
But
well, hey, aren't we all? You know, aren't we all, brother?
No, he does not. Honeywell is not a ham company. They are a everything else company. Basically.
Roger. I don't know, man. I mean, it just blows me away when it comes to like the business of war, and that's kind of becoming like an outdated business. I mean, it in one respect it isn't.
It's becoming more of the, instead of the business of war, it's becoming more of the business of just defense. Like,
just kind of defending the lines that are there.
You just keep making bigger and bigger stuff, and everyone, it's like, any sales company, it's like, imagine Cutco, they come up with their new knives. Hey, this knife I sold you last year is great, but this new knife that's just came out is even better. You should buy this one. It's kind of like the same idea with defense now. This missile was great that you bought last year, but now this missile, new one I created, absolutely can fuck yours over. So you should buy this one instead.
Invariably, we somehow came full circle back to the ham. Well, so like the missiles that we recently utilized to cut the guy down at the window that like deployed the four arms, right? That makes sense because, hey, that has to be, from a business standpoint, that has to be highly precise, right? I mean, when you talk about a strategic killing operation, like they're trying to minimize the damage, the fallout from the impact there. So they're trying to get one guy and one guy only. Hey, that's a lot of fucking money to make sure that thing goes exactly where it's supposed to go versus before. Is that
more scary or less scary to you?
What's more scary, what was I telling you about this the other day? This dude released a AI on Twitter where you can submit your picture to his Twitter account, and his bot will go look up, if you took the picture in public, it'll go through all the open source cameras in the area and send you a video as a reply of you getting the picture taken of you. Like if you're doing a selfie, it'll send you a video from public cameras videoing you taking the selfie of yourself.
Now that would be interesting because you can get into the White House, right? Like there's a process to get in the White House, and it's like a 30-day process in order to get that tour to happen. It'd be funny to do that in there, in the middle of the White House, then send him the video and just see what level.
Well, it's the open source, no shot. If there's one place I would be pretty fucking.
That's
certain.
what I'm wondering. Yeah, that's what I was just wondering. Like, would it be there or how close? You do multiple selfies, like one just outside the White House.
Where's the line break down?
Yeah, up to.
I don't know. That is pretty interesting. I mean, it just uses facial recognition software, and another thing
go in
too.
the Capitol building.
Have you seen the bots that are creating artwork now? The AI bots that are creating art?
AI. There's all kinds of stuff out there. It's kind of interesting. I saw a guy doing it actually the other day, and all he would do was like drag his mouse over it, and it would create it instantly. But I was kind of like, that's cool, but I don't know. He's like dragging it over, and what came to my mind is there's going to be so many people out there now that try to use this as almost like copying art, almost, and then trying to resell it and saying it's the original. I feel like people are going to do that with AI stuff. And
dude,
like, look at this original art. And it's like,
an AI won an art show for the first time the other day. It was AI that made this art. The guy was like, hey, that's my picture, and it won the art show.
See, that's BS, in my opinion. You're not really creating. I think it is because they're not really creating it. It's really the computer that's creating it. So how are you going to take credit? How is he going to take credit and say it's his? Which I think a lot of people are going to do now. You're going to go to Art Basel in like 10 years, and it's all going to be freaking AI stuff until the banana guy comes along and throws a banana on the wall.
I'm excited for it because, like, what are your beliefs and expectations and projections to the world, if not just a conglomerate of previous expectations, beliefs, and agendas piled on your plate?
But doesn't that come down to as well with that art, right? And they start creating art now. The AI, if everything starts going that direction, right? With AI, the AI is only working to the point of what it has picked up so far. So then, if our creativity starts going down, everyone starts going down. It becomes limited, right? The AI, so the creativity goes down because it's not coming up with its own creativity on its own. It's limited to what it's seen so far.
Well, that's all artists.
No, I think our brains are one of the most imaginative things. Yes, it is somewhat limited, but it's also creative to a point, right? So
Yeah,
you can
but
create something new that you've never even seen or thought of, right? Like I could jot down one of the most craziest monsters I've ever seen in my life, and I can guarantee that's never been anywhere else. But it'll have an arm,
can you though?
a head.
Can you?
Yeah, at least squiggly line it. I don't know. If I saw a squiggly line taking my dream monster, that'd be pretty crazy. But it's at least going to have like an arm, a leg. It might be a blob, something like that. But then I create it from there.
I mean, I'm with you. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate. But the thing about computers is it's kind of converging into singularity, where they're an extension of us, right? And absorbing. I mean, that's the thing, is that a human doesn't have the capacity to process information or pull into the wealth of information that's already being produced every second in the world right now, right? So the originality that can come from a computer is potentially far more advanced than any amount of originality that could come from a human.
From one human, correct. So it's pulling originality from everything that we've ever done into one singular point, correct, that no one could comprehend, right? So I guess, but if you were to tell it to create something new from that, could it?
But how do you define new?
I think everything around us was new at some point. Like, I don't know, this laptop that I'm working off of, no, that wasn't there 50 years ago, but someone had to be creative and think about it. The Apple iPod, that was a new creation. Someone had to think outside the box in order to create that and design that. So, like, thinking outside the box, I guess that's where I'm getting at. Thinking outside the box isn't really the AI's point. It's literally thinking inside the box of whatever's been pushed into it. To be like,
when it comes to AI, I mean, a lot of the software and the way it thinks is through mutation.
Correct.
Computating mutations until it figures out the path of least resistance, or a path that works initially, so to speak.
Yes.
And so that's a form of creativity, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. It's kind of like with I think this is maybe a different AI than what we're talking about, but let's talk about like the Teslas, right? The Teslas are all pulling in information everywhere that they're driving around, right? So that way it can predict the next thing. But if you were to put something new in front of it that it's never seen before, let's say a Tesla's around the world had never seen somebody on fire, right? Just like somebody, they know a human, don't hit the human, but you light a human on fire, and all of a sudden there's a human on fire in front of it. It's never seen that before. It might just not recognize it and keep going forward.
Might help the guy out, hit him quicker.
Might just get rid of the problem, right? You'd be like, thank God that Tesla hit me. But it's that's kind of where I'm going at, is that it's all the technology, all the Teslas picked up around the world, like a human, this type of human wearing this type of doing this, one pushing a baby, whatever it is. Don't hit that thing. But it's never seen a human on fire. Now it needs to predict, is that a thing or not, or does it even see it at that point?
It just learns through data, right? The same way a human learns. And so, what I'm presenting is that evolution is just a series of mutations, right?
Correct.
Like that's how life works, is through mutation. And then all of a sudden, hey, like that bug looks like a leaf because the one that looked a little bit more like a leaf survived, the one that didn't died. And then it eventually evolved into something that looked just like a leaf because it had the highest survival chance. And so when you take AI and the status that it's in right now, like, hey, yeah, no shot, we're definitely more creative. But when it takes all that information, and inventions and evolution typically comes from, innovation, necessity is the mother of all innovation. So if you can present something to AI that can source all of this information, we have a problem, like, hey, we got to solve global warming, or this building can only be built 1,032 feet. How do we get it to 1,500? Whatever. That AI has the ability to source much more information, much more rapidly, and compute through mutations a solution, a creative solution that a human can never present, potentially.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely, just sourcing all the information quicker.
And we're getting away from art, but I mean, that's just what's coming up. It's like, hey, if we wanted to create new mediums, new ways to experience art through senses. What?
So this whole podcast is art.
What'd you call me?
I said this whole podcast is art, you dimwit.
It's the same volume. I mean, I can hear you just fine. Funny enough, my hearing's great on the podcast. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's just trippy when you think about like where technology is going to be at, and
Well, AI is going to
20,
run the
30,
world.
40 years.
I mean, that's going to be the new world order, right? When you talk about a new world order, it's going to be it's going to be, I don't know. You remember Futurama, how there was the floating heads inside the jars from people in the past?
Yeah.
Except it's going to be AIs. They're just going to run it, and then they're going to put themselves on a robot that they created, so to give them a more human-like form. And then it's going to be
So I saw they ran a test on Mars recently, a couple times successfully, where they're able to reproduce oxygen using like a synthetic tree, essentially, to like prove the hypothesis of can we produce oxygen on Mars. And so that was kind of groundbreaking for, whatever models we want to forecast for creating a greenhouse environment there.
What if we get Mars, right? We get it up and running. It's great. We haven't set humans yet. We just realized we can get that thing running. And then we send AI robots there that are in the form of humans first, just to go like experiment with it. And then we create the technology so they can reproduce. And then Elon goes, my mission is complete. And then just blows up Earth. It just starts to do. Boop.
Just calls Putin. Hey, yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, he'll probably call him up and be like, remember that thing? You know that thing you've always wanted to do? I'm going to do it first.
There you go. Calls Trump. Oh, can I do it now, Elon? Can I do it? It's going to be huge.
It's going to be the greatest explosion of all time. Better than Star Wars.
People have said they've seen fireworks. They haven't seen anything. It is the way I do things.
Let's give the AIs a show.
You're fired.
That's what he says right before he presses the button. World, you're fired.
You're fired. Oh man, I just see like a really trippy possibility that like, there's things we can see now that fucking 20, 30 years ago we're like, yeah, no shot. That would be an everyday occurrence. But how many years ago was it that we were literally fucking making shit from ore in the ground, like pounding out swords and, shields and shit? What was that? 1,000 years ago? Like real medieval type bullshit.
I mean, I'd say 200 years ago. I mean, we were doing that in the 1700s too. So
yeah, but we had pretty complex trading systems set up at that point. At that point, the world's starting to shrink, right?
So you're talking about like, I have literally what's in my surrounding vicinity here.
Yeah, like some good old fashioned
like a Viking
fuck shit.
Like a Viking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like,
that was probably probably the 1500s then, right? So that was 500, 600 years ago.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, let's call it 1,000 years just to be generous.
No, 1,000. Yeah. 1,000 years.
So if it took us 1,000 years to get where we're at, and we just look at the speed of industrial and technological revolution in the last 100 years, how long do you think it takes on fucking Mars to populate that bitch? What, 50?
I mean, Elon's talked about it. He's said it's probably not going to happen in our lifetime.
Probably not. But once we're like, okay, hey, we've got the logistics figured out. We know we can do it. We just got to get shit there and get it mining, get it going from foot touching down, initial human contact to it being somewhat of a metropolis, like a proper functioning city. What do you think? Like 10, 20, 30 years?
I guess because we already have almost... I guess there's already a blueprint, right? So like, hey, we did it here. Once we got everything that you need to have sustainable once you get there. Yeah, I guess that would be it, right? Like that would probably be 50, 60 years just to be like, all right, we got a school, we got iPods, we got a radio tower, stuff like that out there just to be able to communicate.
Imagine DJing on Mars.
That'd be sick. Like on the, on like Diplo's tour list, one's like Mars. He needs like a week to get back.
If we're listening to alien sounds right now, imagine what kind of fucking music we're going to be listening to 100 years from now.
That's hard to imagine, really, because it's really just bleep bloop a lot of times now, right? And besides
It's
your
just
good
going to be
classical stuff.
little things you put in your ears or probably like right under your jaw or something that just pump shit straight into your nervous system that makes you drip dopamine. It's just, they're just going to go, sound is outdated. We're going for straight dopamine drips.
Just dripping it in. Do you think with us are able to take mushrooms, right, and be able to trip and have psychedelic opening experiences or whatever, will AI be able to have that, right? Because you would think AI would learn about psychedelics and would want to experience it. I wonder if it would, on its own, figure out a way to do it by pulling it from. It would watch The Matrix and probably figure it out that way.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, nothing good will come from AI watching The Matrix. That's for damn sure. I mean, it fucks my
It's
head.
like on the, like, is there going to be a ban list for AI that they can't like open this vault? It could go
Like
into
the
everything
books.
else in the world, but it's not able to get into this vault. It needs the key master to get in there.
Yeah. By the way, recently Uber got hacked, and they got hacked in a bad way. This hacker used social engineering to talk to one of the cybersecurity people and got all the way up into what they call, what was the name for this mechanism? Like safety breaks, glass breaks, I think is what they call it. So in case something does go terribly wrong, like what was happening, they can hit these glass breaks, safety breaks, and essentially like freeze the system. But the guy sent a screenshot to Uber of their passwords for these safety breaks. So it's like he could not have been further up their ass. He's like, by the way, every single safety measure you have in place to stop me, I control that now. So
Whoa.
feel for them.
Imagine, that is crazy, because we do learn about that, you know, working in a big corporation, you do have to go through training once a year on it. And they teach you all these different ways that come out each year of people able to hack. And like, they send out these mass emails to people, and you click on one of them, it can screw over a company so bad just from clicking on one thing. It's amazing that there's like, what do they call it? There's black hatters and then white hatters or something,
Mm-hmm.
where like some are good hackers, some are bad hackers.
Yeah. Yeah, some people just do it for fun. Some hackers just do it. Like some guy got like 30 grand from Google because he figured out something really simple that was like literally affecting their entire system. And it was like, yeah, something really obvious. And he was like, by the way, like if I put a dot here and a slash here, he's like, I have access to all this shit. And they're like, yo. So,
You know, if I move the G over to the third O, everything goes haywire.
yeah, but as far as like computers taking psychedelics, I mean, that's the interesting part about the amount of research that we have, or the lack of research that we have on psychedelics. Like we don't fucking know what they do to us, aside from modulating our inputs and scrambling our neural pathways. And so I think like let's take for instance like when they have AI solve a maze, and it'll have, you know, a couple of dots and sticks it can play with, and it'll start just like creating dots and sticks and trying to get through the maze, and it'll like fall and break or whatever. And then eventually it'll find a path. But let's say there's like a lot of paths for it to solve this maze, and some are more efficient than others. And it's kind of interesting that we develop the same way. We'll just take a path in life. We'll take a path to solve something, whether that's, you know, doing a project around the house. Like, hey, here's how I learned how to do it. I know it's going to take me 22 minutes, but there's a 6-minute way to do it. But if no one ever shows me, I'm not going to rework that, or if I don't ever give myself the opportunity. So if AI learns how to do certain things and it never goes back and retraces that path or looks for another solution, psychedelics for computers would kind of be the thing where it just floods all of its inputs and gives it an opportunity to rework those pathways. And that's kind of what we do as humans, right? Like we have, what's it called? Myelin that builds up around the connections between your neurons. And so this myelin's like rubber coating that floats between these guys, and it essentially insulates the connection, the path, and allows the electricity to flow faster and faster and faster. Like every time you're swinging a bat, you know, like that's what your pathway you're reinforcing. When you take some acid, it actually allows new neural pathways to form. It allows your brain to interact with these experiences and these beliefs and these built up mechanisms of, hey, this is a path, and identify new paths. So who knows, man? I don't know what that would be for a computer, just fucking dropping a bunch of water on circuit boards and being like, hey, let's have a fucking trip. But that's not necessarily the solution. Either is it?
Maybe it's Gatorade. Maybe that's what it is. Pour Gatorade on it. Coffee.
Could be.
I don't know. Going back to the art and AI creating art, I'm just wondering, like, if you were able to give some AI some psychedelics and then told it to create art, right? Because, like, you give a person, you ever seen those where it shows some, like, someone draws just a simple face drawing, like an artist, and he does really well, and then it shows the progression of a trip, how they're able to draw it coming all the way through. Like, what would happen if you gave AI, like that guy moving it around the screen, right? It creates perfect art. But then you give it the trip, and where does that direction go all of a sudden?
I had a friend that was really good at art, and I was always jealous. Well, a mutual friend of ours, his ex-girlfriend, and I was always so jealous. Every time we would trip together, I'd be like, "What are you seeing?" And her ability to depict what she's actually seeing, I was like, "God damn, that's what I'm seeing. That's pretty fucking cool."
God damn.
But also, when you're tripping, somebody paints something. When you see the paintings I make, I'm like, isn't that fucking cool? You're like, that's sick. Next day, it's
someone
cool.
could tell me anything.
Straight black.
I'm like, anyone could tell me, I'm like, that's fucking fascinating. You could be talking about the McDonald's arches, and I'm like, they are yellow. They go whoop whoop.
No. You'll just end up talking to a man in a combat helmet with boots on, talking about how to solve the world's problems.
Ladies and their big braids.
One of my favorite things about when you're coming down, specifically acid, I'll tell you what, I have increasingly lost my love for acid. One of the things I do love about it, though, is just that long come down. And if you're with the right people,
it's funny as fuck.
It's funny as fuck, because we all know, hey, we're in for another 4 hours that we don't want.
This is not over. This is going to be uncomfortable for a little while.
It's just like getting out of the carnival or the amusement park. You had a blast, and now it's just that long ass fucking walk to the parking lot, and everyone's leaving at the same time.
It's like when you overindulge on like food or like candies or something, and it was great for that moment, but now you're gonna have a nice like 4 hours of your stomach feeling like shit after that. You're like, dude, aren't we all glad we went to the candy shop?
Dude, I was tripping with some buddies one time, and we had a couple new trippers, and one guy that apparently had attempted to trip before, but it didn't settle too well with him. I guarantee you, the experience I saw was probably pretty indicative of the first. And so at a certain point, I'm sitting in my giant inflatable lobster, because what else would you sit in? And
yeah, it makes sense.
I remember just being presented with the question, okay, so like now what do we do? What?
That's right. I love getting that question from dudes, and then I just open my mouth. That's it. That's all I give them. You're doing it.
That's what I saw. I was like, you're doing it. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, all right, let's go do some shit. Went to the park, laugh.
I tell people when they've done that, I go, try to tie your shoe. Like, undo your shoe and try to tie it. And then they're like, oh, I can't. And I'm like, now you're seeing it. Like, you're in a whole different space now. Like, you can walk, but the simple things before that were super, your brain had these habits in place. Those habits are gone for the next 6-7 hours.
Welcome back to being a 4-year-old.
Yeah, welcome back to when you were a kid.
I think what I actually ended up doing at that point, that was on the come down. Actually, we'd gone to the park and came back, and that was when I got the okay. So like, now what do we do? Question.
The come down is that's when it's the worst.
I just got the fuck out of there. I went and took a bath. I was like, you'll figure it out. And I just went upstairs. I had a beautiful bath. It was like the sick mansion thing we're in. I was like, y'all are fucking this up for me.
Bath and showers after a trip are definitely the way to piece things back together.
While you're tripping, man, you're
While
just
you're
like
tripping.
picking up the water jello and looking at all the fractals, you know, questioning every decision you've made and thinking about all the people you want to say I'm sorry to and regretfully forget after the trip, you know, that you're not full of love anymore.
Fuck them people.
yeah.
After the trip, like, why was I so
Why
compassionate?
would I ever want to complete those loops? Let me just hang on to that angst forever.
So compassionate. Don't do that.
Or you're
what?
Are we tripping right now?
Probably. I mean, look at me.
No, man, but yeah, when people do like the bro love or just like the really pure drug moments, those are my favorite. You know, when the people are expressing how much they love each other, and I would just be walking through a place that, you know, we know the consumption of substances are going on. And you're like, oh, do you mean it though? Do you?
My favorite one is like when you're at a festival and you're at the concert, you're watching the show, and you make friends with the people next to you, and they're like, "We're gonna be friends forever." Forever, buddy, for sure.
Forever. Make sure you get my contact info, Charlie.
Get it? I'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need some help moving. We're friends forever, buddy. You know, I'll put a call on you.
How many friends, you know, that's a good thing to think about. How many people have we met out that actually stuck around as a result of that interaction? I don't know that I can name
0.
any.
I've got a solid. The only ones I would say that may have stuck around are people that I was introduced to that through another mutual friend. And
before you got there.
Yeah, before you got there. Or maybe even like during it. Because there's been times where I've met those people during the trip, and then I hung out with them afterwards, but it was through that mutual friend, and then you became friends after that, you know, further. But it definitely wasn't like that friendship was made during that moment.
Yeah, I don't know that there's honestly one guy that I really wish I would have hung on to was Cheeseburger, though, from Tomorrow World. That was a cool guy, man. Most other people, I'm like, I don't know that.
There was a guy we had, remember it was Bonnaroo. Remember that guy that was camping right next to us? Like legit, like right next to us at Bonnaroo. And then he ended up finding this like purple rock on the ground. He's like, it should be something, and ended up taking it.
I do remember that.
And he said it was one of the best trips he's ever had. I don't know what it is, but boop, he came by himself. He had 2 tips set up, though, one for when he brought someone back and one for his actual bed. And he brought a chick back that time, and he said he kicked her out into the other tent. He was like, no. That's my tent. That's a guy I wish we would.
This is a good time to mention, if you don't want random people in your tent, go to testkitplus.com/professional hippies and make sure you grab yourself a test kit so you know what purple mountains you're cramming up your holes.
Do not take the purple mountains until you test them.
We have camped next to some fucking freak shows, though, man. I'll tell you, at Burning Man, that was the most refreshing thing, is the lack of fucking weirdos right next to us. It was just
all simple professors.
Live their life, get along.
Like an engineer was the first guy the first night. They're just like, what's our? I think everyone that actually camped right next to us, it was also their first burn.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. Like, when we pulled up, I didn't know how far we could go up into that shit. And I was like, I'm not really trying to figure out and piss people off. You don't know what the etiquette is. Honestly, I would prefer it all the same, too, to be that far back. Because it really isn't that far on a bike, you know?
Oh, it's not that far of a bike, especially if you plan it out going into it. Now, what would have been cool, and I thought about this later, is you make friends with one of those camps that are right up front, and you ask them if we could just store a cooler there with some stuff. And then that way, when you want to go refresh, you don't have to go all the way back to your camp. You just make friends with them and go, hey, grab whatever you want. Only you. Grab whatever you want. But we're going to kind of use this as a nice refresh point here.
That's an idea and a half, brother. That's an idea and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff you learn by just going back to stuff like that over and over again. And by the way, if you're listening to this, I know you're listening to this because of the amount of people we had reach out to us. We will be putting together kind of a game plan for you to go. Just not our RV, but you're more than welcome to come and tag along with us. That's for sure. Yeah,
Professional hippies.
The amount of people that reached out to us after that was just absurd.
I had so many people ask, like, I want to know, tell me about it, what's going on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Or like the people you would never expect that want to go, that are like, hey, I've been wanting to go for years. And I'm like, you can't stomach the idea of going to a regular music festival for 2 days.
Yeah, that's kind of weird that people think that. The only thing I could think of in that instance is it's like someone that normally wouldn't, want to go to a top of a building, but because it's the Empire State Building, they want to go to the top of the Empire State Building. But any other tall building, they're like, oh yeah, I don't want to go to that. Who cares? But then because it's this famous building, I want to go to the top of that. Well, it's kind of same thing of like, you ask anyone who want to go to Bonnaroo and stuff, you go to, I would say the equivalent of Burning Man might be Tomorrow World. That would be the other equivalent one on that side. That's the reason why they want to go to that. And it is so discreet though. Like you can't really find information about what it truly is like. You can ask tons of people about what Tomorrow World is like or what all these other festivals, but there really is not that many people that have been to Burning Man besides the people that have gone to it over and over and over again.
Yeah, not a lot of virgin blood typically, but I think it's a little easier to surmise an experience of a music festival than it is whatever the fuck that thing is called Burning Man, because of those so many unique experiences that are happening constantly, and yeah, I mean, not to ride that in the ground, it was just I
can't wait to experience more of that, like the campsites and what they're doing and what they're producing. I felt like we definitely got sucked into the playa a ton, which makes sense. I mean, it was beautiful. It was amazing being out there.
Vortex of fun, yeah.
Vortex of fun, but then, like, I feel like even more of an experience is going into the camps and seeing what they even have to offer, out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
champagne tent was my favorite one by far, though. You can walk right on by and get free champagne. Hell yeah, I was about that.
Dude, they got so much cool shit there. It is kind of like a little wonderland. What was I going to say before? Around the Bonnaroo thing. Yeah, I don't know. That thought's long.
Are we going to do Okeechobee?
I'm very open to it. Very open to it.
Tickets go on sale tomorrow.
Daddy also has to sit down and look at my plan for money because I opened up all my accounts today and I was like, wow, that was impressive. So,
you ever do that? You get you're like so on top of it, and then you give yourself like a little break from looking at it. And you're like, I'm doing good. Give myself a little break on looking at these accounts all the time. And then you come back to it, and you're like, oh, that's why Daddy stays on top of it.
Right there. Because it's interesting. If you lose the relationship with it, it's just like any other relationship. It has to be nurtured, has to be maintained, has to be paid attention. And, let that go. And, wow.
Got to give her attention. You do. And it's not just one. It's all these other. They're all crazy, too. They get wild. Oh, my gosh. They just want. They give, though. That's all they do is give. But eventually they want back.
Yeah. I was telling Abby today, I was like, I feel called to do like a little personal push for 30 days of like getting my life back in order. Because all the chaos from Burning Man, the retreat and stuff, it's like awesome when you flood yourself with novel experiences and growth and things like that. But you have to assimilate it in your life too. So like even meditating, like I don't have any morning practice right now. So I'm super out of routine with that, working out. And it's amazing how
I went to bed yesterday at 10 o'clock. I woke up at 7:30 this morning. I stretched. I did my first time ever meditating, just like trying to do it. Not first time ever, but like in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a great day. Today has just been great. I was just like, wow, this is how you're supposed to feel during the day. Like, oh, well, this is nice.
Yeah, man.
Start doing
It's
that.
amazing the difference it has
I
on your
drink my second beer.
treat yourself. Don't be stingy.
Don't be stingy. Treat yourself.
Yeah, man.
You're starting already.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to tell you before the podcast, but I think it's good for just kind of announcing on here. The experts that we're going to be tapping and bringing in over the next 5-6 weeks here.
I can't wait to tap into these experts.
Well, what I want to do is kind of like learn in a selfish way, but giving that back to the people in this community. You know, so different topics, whatever's interesting to us from business.
Well, let's go on their podcast. I mean, that's what we'll be doing. We'll be going on theirs. I would love to go on other people's podcasts. Start talking.
Bring our filth, drop it off in other people's dumpsters.
Yeah, look at me. Who wouldn't want us out there? You know, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's exactly the type of person I want on our podcast."
Yeah, no, that was my thoughts exactly. I mean, that's why I have you on every week, buddy.
The Russian-looking guy.
All right, do you think you're Russian?
Right now, I am sure. If Putin starts wanting to bomb people, Russian. I don't want to be bombed.
Easy. Jellybean doesn't like that. You're upsetting him.
Oh, Jellybean.
Yeah, man.
I don't get how people can have a ton of cats. I got one cat, and that's enough to handle. I can't imagine
2,
15.
Yeah.
Well, your second cat, I feel like Jellybean gets what he wants. Your other one
clearly
gets whatever is just given to him. He's a very quiet dude. He's like, I don't really care as long as I'm not hurt.
Yeah, he's trauma reincarnate. That's okay. You know, sometimes, living our best life, it's different for everybody. And that poor little guy is scared of his own shadow. So he'll take what he can get. Yeah, man, I don't know. There's a lot to be excited for. Oh, I remember what I was going to talk about with Burning Man. And we kind of land the plane with this one. All those people that want to think that if only the world could run the way that Burning Man runs.
Glad you're talking about that. Yeah, there's no way that's possible. There's so many people I've heard go on bigger podcasts and they're like, oh, yeah, this is a great example of how this could be made and da-da-da. And it's like, do you not think, like, all those things that made all of that run, how was that created? How did those get there? Where did those, those are all brought to that scenario. It's also the community of people willing to give. But what I thought was crazy was that, yes, these camps are giving out free stuff, but it's not the camp. It is a select few people that are wealthy enough to make that thing happen. Then all their workers who you would meet, that you're getting that free stuff, that's handing you the free stuff, or gifting you, not the free stuff, gifting you the stuff, that person paid the very wealthy people probably $600 to be able to live there, and they have to work shifts, right? So, what, if that's how you want the world to be, you're basically paying a tax and then having to work on top of that tax. And then where are you getting those funds from now to have to pay that person to now provide everything that you're enjoying? Where's it all coming from?
I mean, it's just like this utopian, idealistic philosophy of how they want the world to run. And I'm like, honestly, no. Love the idea of being able to fuck off and do what I want, but the consistent reminder that there's a police presence around me, didn't love that.
No, I would go to those people and say, okay, you want the world to live like that? Totally cool. As long as you're cool with me being the top dog out there, that's cool. You can have, we'll have the world run how you want that. There are top dogs out there. As long as you're cool with me being the top dog and you're my bitch, that's fine. I'm cool with that.
Well, I mean,
you make sure everything's taken care of.
Let's walk this back too. At the same time, if we could have a little bit more acceptance in society of boats going down the highway, okay, or icebergs in the middle of our parks with LEDs and 30-foot tall sheep. I'm okay with it.
I don't think that's what they're talking about, though. I think they're more talking about...
That's the problem. They're not talking about the real things.
I think they're more talking about the presence of, because there's no cash flow out there. There's no sense of, normalcy, right? which is interesting because the people that usually want that are like, oh, the world could be like this, are usually the people that are most uncomfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so you go, okay, that's fine. Let me just go ahead and take you outside your apartment, and now you get to camp next to the lake that's next to the apartment. Now go survive.
Yeah.
Now let me take your cash. I got all your cash now. I have all that. I'll gift you with a tent just to be nice, and I will gift you with a ration of some ramen every day.
Did you throw drugs in there? I kind of blinked out for a second.
No drug. No, you got to find your own drugs. That's your problem, not my problem.
No, in this city,
no, because in the
drugs.
camps, their camps aren't providing you drugs. The camps are providing you necessities. You know, in our world, sure, necessity would be that, but we're providing that for ourselves. But you go to these camps, right, and they're providing you water, food, shelter. You got your 3 things. Now you have to work for them. All right, so I give you a camp. Let's say you camp next to a lake. I'll give you some ramen. I'll bring you a daily dose of ramen. You're not getting a whole pack of it all of a sudden. I come by and I drop off 2 packs of ramen to you today, and I drop off a gallon of water. Now, based off of that, you have to produce everything else and go survive. I don't think a lot of people want that. I really don't. I don't think that's a thing that would be sought after.
Forgot the neon. There's be a lot of neon.
A lot of L wire.
A lot of glow shit.
It would be cool. It would be interesting, though, to, let's say that, right? Like I was talking about being the top dog. It would be interesting to buy an island, like a nice, good-sized island one day, and then you get all those people that are like, this is what I want, and be like, okay, that's fine. Drop them on the island, and you bring them their daily ration. Like I fly, I just from a helicopter, it parachutes down, boop, everything that they need for the day, and be like, all right, let's see how long this lasts. Where does this go? That'd be a nice little experiment.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, if you guys want to be a part of Camp Professional Hippies, hit us up. Shoot us a DM on Instagram. Let us know.
I think after this, going to be like, F that. I don't
yeah, I don't know if I want to be part of their city. All right, man. You about ready to land this plane?
No, real fast, though. Let's talk about wanting to do another challenge. I think what you were talking about earlier, and you're like, I want to do another 30 days, right? I'm kind of up for another challenge. I've been thinking about what to do here.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's just think of something real fast, right? I felt good after this morning. I was like, I got up. I was like, I want to try to challenge myself to do more of this each day, get more sleep, whatever it may be. I do have, let's say it's 9/21 now. I have like a nice 40 days until Halloween comes up. So before my mind lets loose again, I got a nice little 30-day buffer here.
Meditation would be a good one. I'd be down for 30 days of meditation.
So a good meditation, I think that would be a good one. And I think that would be a good, talking about the experiences throughout the week. Now, do we want to do an increasing amount of time meditating for those 30 days, or do you want to do the same consistent amount of time?
I don't know. What comes up for you? I mean, I
did 5 minutes a day, but I felt like I was trying to keep my mind focused.
Yeah.
I felt like out of that 5 minutes, I might have had 30, 40 seconds of being able to stay focused without my mind.
I mean, that's pretty good. 30, 40 seconds out of 5 minutes. That's really good, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm lucky if I get
out of it.
I'm lucky if I get like 30, 40 seconds out of like 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, my mind would just start wandering. I was like, I had to crap, bring it back. But yeah, I started with 5 minutes. So I figured if I do more and more, you get to like 5 minutes, 30 seconds. I started the clock at 5 minutes and 30 seconds because I figured I want to do 5 minutes of meditating, but it gives me 30 seconds to get like focused.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. So I did 5 minutes and 30 seconds. That way, 30 seconds of at least like getting into the mindset.
I mean, I'm down for like a minimum if you want to go over that. Somewhere between 5-10 minutes feels really good. Okay. If I get in somewhere between 5-10 minutes of meditation a day, like that is creating a lot of space for me to feel great. And it's just because it's just you loving on yourself. Like that's all that time is. It's just like, hey, I care enough about myself to take the space for me and allow all the bullshit of the outside world to just fuck off for a little bit.
That it was interesting trying to keep that right, where I had to kind of tell myself halfway through, like, no time for that right now. Like, it almost reminded me of, when you go on when you do trip, right? You need to be in the right kind of mindset, but you kind of are also telling the rest of everything else in the world to fuck off.
Definitely.
For like the next,
you're no value to the world during that time.
Nothing. Especially someone running into a generator. You're like, I can't have no use to them right now. So, like, it's almost in that same mindset for the next 5 or 10 minutes. You have to tell everything to F off, and only, I just want to focus on myself right now. And basically, to me, it was like, I only want to focus on myself, but I want to just focus on the one thing that I literally have to do every second of the day to keep myself alive. Like, that's what was interesting to me, was like having to just push everything else out for just 5 or 10 minutes. Whereas, like, you take anything, you're like, oh, it's easy to do that for 5, 6, 12 hours, whatever it may be, just from taking something. But it's so difficult just for 5 minutes to do that.
Dude, just connecting to breath. Just.
Yeah. Do you better? I was trying to figure out the best way to do it. In through the mouth, out through the mouth, or in through the nose, out through the mouth.
I mean, everyone's going to have a different philosophy there. I'm a big fan of Naval Ravikant, where he talks about, like, hey, there's so many teachers and techniques, but at the end of the day, man, it's just about clearing space. It's about taking space. So whatever connects for you, I've had teachers say, like, the spiritual passage is through the nose. So, breathing in and out through the nose is a way to connect more with centeredness.
Yeah.
Which does make sense. When you breathe in and out of your mouth, you're creating power, right? When you think about you exercising, you're typically not going through the nose, you're going through the mouth because you're looking to generate energy, versus when you're breathing through the nose, you're looking to slow and connect more of a spiritual center. So whatever resonates with you, man, just taking space. That's what it's all about.
When you said that, the only thing that popped into my head in a moment was what you said. There's people out there that say that a lot of the energy and stuff goes through your nose, the nasal cavity, etc. I just imagine them doing a huge line. Look, man, it all goes through your nose, right? That's where all the spirit and energy. Look, watch. All of a sudden, up, awake, ready to go.
It's funny because when you reflected that back to me, I pictured someone stark-ass naked, spreading their ass cheeks, trying to sun their anal cavity. So I think that there's...
What is that about? Why is that a thing?
Vitamin D, baby.
It's just straight vitamin D to the anus, as much as possible.
Vitamin
we need to
anus
get Tyler
burn.
Panzer on to talk about that. That's what we need. We need to get the expert on to come talk about that.
Clickbait. These are the secrets they don't want you to know.
All right, we're going to leave you folks off with that. Share with your friends. Share with your loved ones. Share with those you hate. Whatever you want to do. Please like and share the episode. We love you all. Till next week.
Review us.
Please review us.
Please.
And I hope you waited it till the very end, to that last part, so you can give us less than 5 stars, I'm sure. So, peace, love.
Love ya.
Next episode.